I really don't want to come off as a hater with this video. I just kind of feel disappointed. FNAF's theories so far have been pretty alright so far. I don't always agree, but at least they feel like a complete narrative. Like, there's consistent logic, I see what the arguments are being made, even if I don't agree with them. However, this video left me so confused that I had to rewrite the entire script from scratch to properly convey what this theory is about, at least from how I don't understand it. I don't get what's trying to be argued here. I just don't get it. I don't know what this video is about. I tried to make an actual reasonable argument video, and it didn't work because this theory is so irrational that normal arguments become weird with it. So I'm just going to go over this video real quick and then talk about some of the issues this theory has with its own logic. I'm struggling here. This is a really weird one to write and voice. According to Fuhnaff, the story of Midnight Motorist is that the mound in the woods is a Twisted Ones reference. But it isn't the Twisted Ones because it's instead a game counterpart. The counterpart is Funtime Freddy. The reason it's Funtime Freddy is because Funtime Freddy has a stomach hatch just like the Twisted Ones. And also has seemingly maybe an illusion disc thing on him. Funtime Freddy also references birthday parties a lot in his voice lines, just kind of like the Crying Child's birthday, I guess. The Night Terrors in VR feature Funtime Freddy. So the logic is Funtime Freddy lures and kills the Crying Child, who's brought back as a robot by William, but still has the memories and trauma of dying, I guess, which is why he's now afraid of Fredbear and the Springlock animatronics. Now we know that Nightmare Fredbear was the one used to lure him, as supported by Nightmare Fredbear's stomach mouth. I record all of this up to this point, and I actually missed something in the video. I had to rewatch it about a 6th time, I would say, to figure this out. Something FNAF is trying to argue is that Funtime Freddy is using an illusion disc to look like Fredbear. For some reason, I guess because it's, by this theory's logic, the kid's favorite animatronic, so he'd be more trusting of it, I think. In the original video, I didn't get that, and I didn't understand that, so I wrote it thinking there was no transition in talking about Fredbear. There is one, it's just dumb because it ignores the fact that Funtime Freddy has a different amount of toes than Fredbear still. The illusion disc doesn't make the body of the animatronics different, it just changes the appearance. It still has 4 toes that are square instead of the goofy cartoony toes. Because Fredbear is like a Frankenstein's monster and looks over the hillside, paralleling the Crying Child being resurrected as kind of like a Frankenstein parallel, I guess. And also the nightmares being outside in bushes, just like there's bushes in Midnight Motorist, therefore it's the nightmare animatronics. The difference that Funtime Freddy has with the toes is solved in the minigame, because he only has 3 toes, but Funtime Freddy has 4 toes. As Fredbear, normal Fredbear, would probably have 3 toes because he's mainly built on Freddy's normal design in UCN. I guess. Based on this, Henry often wears a Fredbear suit, as mentioned in the books and the Ultimate Guide, and therefore he watched Charlie die because he was unable to leave his suit, I guess. Because the encyclopedia doesn't mention the Crying Child being in FNAF 3, it's therefore Cassidy, and Cassidy just didn't move on, just went on to UCN to torment William. Because of the Springlock suit in Night 4 of Sister Location, the Funtimes must have existed in the Fredbear era, according to this logic, despite the fact that they existed in Freddy's, which is its own thing. Afton's motivation for creating the Funtimes before he decided to kill anyone regularly is because his wife died, and I guess he's just kind of crazy and evil. That's not even me making up that logic. He ends the video saying that some people are just bad or crazy. That's the entire theory. I just summarized it all in, I'm looking at the audio time, 5 minutes, and that's including bad takes. This is a 15-minute video I just broke down. And all of this is paced and edited and written as if it's all cohesive, connected lore. There's small problems that I could talk about, the theory sections of the Ultimate Guide are being used as fact, and the encyclopedia claims Bonbon is FNAF 3, and this is the same encyclopedia we're using to prove the Crying Child isn't in FNAF 3. That encyclopedia, I did an entire video about how it was unreliable, and now it's being used as proof. I know FNAF didn't see that video, obviously, but that's beside the point. My point is, the community reaction was that this is a weird book that's unpredictable and doesn't really make sense. I don't know why you would use that as definitive proof the Crying Child isn't in Happiest Day. Maybe he isn't. Maybe he isn't in Happiest Day, sure. But that's not the place I would pick to use that for evidence. There's a Funtime Nightmare Fredbear or something, because he argues both Funtime Freddy and Fredbear were out there. I don't get it. I'm confused. I'm rubbing my hair, scratching my head, trying to figure this out. Is Nightmare Fredbear even real according to this? he brings up the stomach mouth like it's a nightmare that the crying child has from being killed by Funtime Freddy. But then also talks about how But then he also talks about how Fredbear has the toe count of the animatronic outside the window. So which one is it? Is it real? Is this normal Fredbear? Is this Nightmare Fredbear? Because Nightmare Fredbear has 4 toes. My comments told me this on my first video. And he transitions to Henry wearing the Fredbear costume like that's proof for Fredbear being outside, but that doesn't make sense. That's a completely separate theory or topic. Why is that even brought up here at all? I genuinely don't know what the thing outside is supposed to be according to this theory. I can't state that enough. This theory also creates the stupidest William I've ever heard of. Ah, yes, because my wife died and I'm an alcoholic now, I guess I'm fucking crazy and I'm going to kill kids. I'm going to make some murder clown robots. One will kill my son, but I'll bring him back if he dies. And if, say, these clown robots kill my daughter or any of my other children, and or my son dies in a random tragedy after I went to the trouble of rebuilding him as a robot, fuck them. They don't come back this time. I don't know why I'm not doing this the second time. I don't know why I sound like the Tick, but I'm doing it all. Also, the next 11 kids I'm going to kill are just going to be with my bare hands in a bunny costume. Because my murder clown robots, they go in storage. Like, none of this order of events makes sense. Why bring back the Shrine Child just to kill him again? That plot doesn't make sense. Why would someone even write that? That's just confusing for the sake of being confusing. Scott has to write these things. He has to somehow try to convey something to us. And this is the least logical thing to come to. I know FNAF is convoluted, but you can't use that just to say, well, it's weird because it's FNAF. But would he kill his own son just to bring him back? Because apparently he cares enough to bring him back in this theory. Just to let him die again and not do anything about it. And also, Elizabeth doesn't get to come back as a robot kid. She just stays in baby forever. And all of these are just issues with the theory itself, as stated by the theory. If I, as a fan, were to be like, yes, this is it. This is the definitive version of Midnight Motorist. It is solved, as it says in the title. Even taking it all as fact, or like mostly fact even. This theory doesn't work with itself. I'm really trying not to make this video negative. I've never been so baffled by a big FNAF tuber's video. Like, I consider FNAF one of the big guys, one of the ones up there doing big theories, and this one just is so weird. There's other stuff I could talk about. I could make an entire video about the weird logical lore inconsistencies. Like I did my entire last video about the whole Cancel Due to Leaks teaser implying that Sister Location is way after this time period. If you really have questions about my logic or rationale, if people really want like a part 2 of like dedicated me trying to break down this theory, I might do it. I don't know. It's just stuff that this thing ignores. Like the logbook becomes really weird. Like, why did Michael draw Nightmare Fredbear in the logbook? I guess this would have to mean it's a physical animatronic if this theory were true. But then at what point in the story did Michael meet Nightmare Fredbear? The entire premise of Robot Kids hinges on the idea that William can just go, snap, I've got a robot kid now. He doesn't make a robot kid in the Silver Eyes, which is where this entire idea comes from. Like, you need the Silver Eyes to get to this point. If this doesn't happen in Silver Eyes, this argument becomes kind of debunked by process. Something else I'd like to bring up that I didn't think about in the original recording of this was, there's no explanation for why the Sister Location animatronics can just magically leave the bunker at all. I thought I'd bring that up, because that was like the big plot point of Sister Location. The whole point was they couldn't leave and they wanted to get out. But I guess Funtime Freddy's immune to this and can leave anytime he wants. I swear, the further I go into editing this video, the more things I think of that are just like weird, even by the theory's own logic. Like another thing I thought of is, I don't know if Elizabeth dies first or not in this video. It's never really clarified. But I guess the Funtimes are possessed by no one, or they're just AI or something, because he says like that plot point goes nowhere when talking about the stomach robot kid, like the kid in Funtime Freddy's stomach, and that's not true. That's, to me, that was always the implication that they have their own kids inside of them that is what's causing them to be possessed. Like, they each killed their own kid, and that's their own set of victims. That's how I always interpreted it. That's kind of debated between Molten MCI and, like, Toy MCI and all that. Or, I mean, Molten Toys and all that. Regardless of what you think on that, this is really weird because this means Funtime Freddy kills the Crying Child, but the Crying Child doesn't possess Funtime Freddy, and or he does, which is really weird. I've never heard anyone in this franchise try to argue that Funtime Freddy is possessed by the Crying Child. So that's just, I don't know what the hell that's supposed to be. Alright, so another button from like my near end of the video kind of area. I've already edited a decent chunk of it. I thought I want to explain what this theory is trying to get across now that I understand it a little bit better because I've rewatched it about 8 times now. So what I think the simplest version of this theory is that Funtime Freddy turns into an illusion version of Nightmare Fredbear, or just normal Fredbear. This somehow morphs his toes into being 3 toes, I guess. He lures and kills the crying child. William rebuilds the crying child as a robot, but then he dies again in FNAF 4. At some point in time along that circuit, I guess Elizabeth also dies. I don't know when. Once again, the theory doesn't really specify that. And unrelated stuff from there, like just answering questions. But that's like the core of the theory. It's just that the Funtime Freddy is Fredbear as an illusion to kill the crying child for some reason. I guess I'm just going to cut myself off here. This video is getting a little too long. This is genuinely like psychic damage watching this video. It feels AI generated borderline. If John from FNAF sees this, I'm still a big fan. This is just a flop of a video in my opinion. I really don't want to offend anyone. If you're a fan of FNAF and you really like this theory, power to you, I guess. I just think this is the worst theory that's been produced by that channel so far.